The lonely artist. The amber glow of his desk lamp cast long shadows across the walls of Leo's small apartment, illuminating a constellation of art books stacked precariously. He leaned closer to the large drawing pad, his charcoal stick dancing across the paper, coaxing a woman's face into being. Her eyes, still hollow outlines, held a quiet intensity that mirrored his own. Outside, the city hummed a muted lullaby, a sound Leo had grown accustomed to, almost comforting in its distance. He paused, stretching his fingers, the faint scent of charcoal and turpentine clinging to them. His apartment, a haven of creativity, was filled with half-finished canvases, scattered sketches, and the quiet testament of a life lived through art. It was a good life, he often told himself, one filled with purpose and the deep satisfaction of bringing beauty into existence. Yet, in the silent expanse of these late nights, a subtle ache sometimes surfaced, a recognition of the solitary nature of his comfort. He was content, undoubtedly, but sometimes a quiet echo of loneliness resonated in the spaces between brushstrokes. A sharp jingle startled him. His phone. Maya. Leo. You're still up, aren't you? I knew it. Her voice, bright and effervescent, spilled into the quiet room. Listen, I have the most fascinating, most urgent request for you. It involves your genius, my friend Clara, and the absolute disaster that is online dating profiles. Leo chuckled, setting his charcoal down. Slow down, Maya. Disaster? What's going on? Okay, so Clara, lovely woman, amazing sense of humor, but her dating profile looks like it was designed by a committee of disgruntled accountants. Seriously, she needs help, like professional-level help. And I immediately thought of you. You're brilliant with visuals, you understand people, you can make anything look appealing without making it fake. Maya's words tumbled out in a rush, a whirlwind of enthusiasm. You have to help her, Leo. It's a mission of mercy. Leo listened, a faint smile playing on his lips. He imagined this Clara, whoever she was, a figure shrouded in Maya's dramatic descriptions. He usually preferred the quiet solitude of his work, but Maya's requests were rarely dull. Cookies and first impressions. The scent of cinnamon and brown sugar wafted into Leo's hallway before he even fully opened the door. Clara stood on his landing, a wide smile softening the edges of her eyes, a ceramic plate covered with foil clutched in her hands. Hope you don't mind a peace offering, she said, her voice a gentle current. Homemade oatmeal raisin. Leo felt a surprising warmth bloom in his chest. Not at all, he managed, stepping aside. Come. They smell incredible. His apartment, usually a quiet sanctuary of muted tones and meticulous order, suddenly felt brighter, less empty. She navigated past a stack of art books and settled onto his sofa, placing the cookies carefully on the coffee table. The initial awkwardness was palpable, a delicate string stretching between them. Leo cleared his throat. So, the profile. We should probably start there. He gestured vaguely towards his laptop, which sat open on his desk, a blank document waiting. Clara nodded, pulling a stray curl behind her ear. Right? The daunting task. She picked up one of the cookies, breaking off a piece. I guess you need to know what I'm actually looking for, beyond the obvious nice person bit. Exactly, Leo replied, his gaze flickering from her to the profile template on his screen. What are your passions? What makes you tick? He saw a thoughtful expression settle on her face. A small smile played on her lips. Well, I'm a sucker for old black and white movies. The kind where the dialogue is witty and the romance is implied, not shouted. She paused, then added, and long walks in the park, especially when the leaves are turning, just watching the world go by. Leo found himself smiling in return, a genuine, unforced curve of his lips. He pictured her, a gentle silhouette against a backdrop of autumn trees, and a flicker of something new, something beyond professional interest, stirred within him. The cookies, still untouched on the table, felt like a silent invitation, sparkling eyes and shared stories. All right, Clara, Leo began, his voice soft as he pointed to the screen. Let's look at these photos. We want something that truly captures your essence. Less posed, more you. He scrolled through a few options she'd sent, mostly landscapes and one or two slightly awkward selfies. Tell me about this one. He indicated a blurry snapshot of a fluffy white dog. Clara's lips curved into a genuine smile. Oh, that's Daisy, my rescue. She's a terror sometimes, but the sweetest creature you'll ever meet. That was taken at the park, just after she tried to chase a squirrel up a tree. Her eyes, a warm hazel, glimmered with an infectious delight. Leo leaned back slightly, a quiet warmth spreading through him. She sounds wonderful. What about the text for your profile? We need something that reflects your positive spirit, your joy. Clara hesitated, a faint shadow passing over her expression before she brightened again. Well, I do love simple things. A good book, long walks with Daisy, and definitely ice cream, especially mint chocolate chip. Her eyes sparkled again, an almost childlike wonder in their depths. Leo watched her, a new kind of curiosity stirring within him. He'd expected polite answers, perhaps a touch of awkwardness, but not this unrestrained joy over a dog and a dessert. He found himself drawn to the way her face lit up, a stark contrast to the guarded answers she'd given earlier about her past. This wasn't just a favor anymore. It was a window into a spirit he was only just beginning to perceive. Mint chocolate chip, huh? He murmured, a faint smile playing on his lips. A classic for a reason. He felt a gentle pull, a desire to coax more of that brilliant sparkle from her. A brave heart. The aroma of Earl Grey tea mingled with the scent of freshly printed paper as Leo and Clara huddled over the laptop. Their sessions had grown more frequent, each meeting shedding another layer of formality. Today, Clara was narrating anecdotes for her profile bio, her laughter a light, melodic counterpoint to the soft clicks of Leo's keyboard. He found himself mesmerized by the way her eyes crinkled at the corners when she smiled, a genuine warmth radiating from her. And then he tried to use a frying pan as a hat, Clara giggled, recalling a disastrous camping trip with a friend. Leo chuckled, visualizing the scene. The easy camaraderie between them felt natural, unforced. He passed her a mug, the ceramic warm against her fingers. As the afternoon wore on, a quiet settled between them, different from their usual comfortable silence. Clara's gaze drifted to a framed photograph on Leo's desk, a faded snapshot of a couple dancing. My husband, she murmured, her voice barely a whisper. He loved to dance. Leo paused, his fingers hovering over the keys. He'd sensed a history, a depth to Clara that went beyond her cheerful demeanor, but she'd never spoken of it. He waited, his attention entirely hers. It was sudden, she continued, her voice gaining a fragile strength. A heart attack. He was just gone. Her eyes, usually so bright, clouded with a profound sadness that pierced Leo's own heart. We had so many plans. A garden we were going to build. Trips we never took. She traced the rim of her mug, a brave tremor in her hand. It felt like the world just stopped turning. For a long time, I didn't think I'd ever find my way back. Leo listened, a wave of empathy washing over him. He saw not just her pain, but the immense courage it must have taken to navigate such a loss, to still seek connection. He wanted to reach out, to offer comfort, but he held back, knowing some wounds needed space. Instead, he met her gaze, a silent acknowledgement passing between them. He felt a profound shift, a deepening of his respect and admiration for this gentle, resilient woman. Her bravery, laid bare, was breathtaking, a glimmer of hope. The scent of freshly brewed coffee filled Leo's small apartment, a familiar comfort now tinged with something new. He smoothed down his shirt for the third time, then adjusted the vase of wildflowers on the coffee table. It was ridiculous, this flutter in his chest, this almost boyish eagerness. Clara wasn't a client, not really. She was just Clara. And yet, the hours leading up to her visits had become anticipatory, a soft hum of quiet excitement replacing his usual calm. He found himself sketching less, tidying more, the thought of her gentle laughter a pleasant distraction. A soft knock at the door, and there she was, a bright splash of color against the muted hallway. Her smile, a genuine arc, warmed the space instantly. "Hey, Leo. Hope I'm not late." "Not at all. Come in," he managed, his voice a little lower than usual. He gestured towards the couch, then busied himself pouring her a mug of coffee. They settled into their usual rhythm, discussing potential profile prompts, but Clara's gaze kept drifting to the easel in the corner. "Did you draw that?" she asked, pointing to a charcoal sketch pinned to the corkboard beside it. It depicted a solitary tree, its branches reaching skyward, some bare, others just beginning to bud. Leo felt a familiar shyness creep in. "Just a quick study. Nothing special." Clara rose and moved closer, her fingers tracing the air near the drawing. "It's beautiful, and a little sad, like it's hoping for something, even though it's all alone." She turned to him, her eyes soft with understanding. "It feels like sad hope, somehow. Does that make sense?" A jolt went through Leo. Sad hope. He'd never articulated it that way, but it was precisely the emotion he'd been trying to capture. He'd drawn that tree during a particularly quiet spell, a period of lingering grief after his own loss. For the first time in a long time, someone saw beyond the lines and shadows. "It does," he said, his voice barely a whisper, a strange warmth unfurling in his chest. "It makes perfect sense." The blurring line. Leo leaned back, the monitor's soft luminescence accentuating the fine lines etched by concentration on his face. The dating profile was nearing completion, a vibrant mosaic of Clara's life, thoughtfully assembled from her photographs and the essence of their many conversations, glowed on the screen. He'd captured her gentle fortitude, her understated strength, and the glimmer of humor often veiled by her composed exterior. A wave of professional pride washed over him, swiftly followed by an unwelcome, chilling apprehension. He scrolled through the nearly finalized profile, his gaze settling on a photograph of Clara Midlaff, a genuine, unrestrained sound he'd grown to treasure. Each image, every carefully selected phrase, stood as a testament to the hours they'd shared. He recalled the afternoon sun dappling her kitchen as she spoke of her mother, the companionable quiet over coffee, the way her eyes would crinkle at his clumsy jokes. These weren't mere details for a profile. They were fragments of a connection that had intricately woven itself into the fabric of his days. A bitter taste filled his mouth. This was it, the finish line. The successful conclusion of his task signaled the end of their regular calls, the comfortable camaraderie, the easy silences that had become as reassuring as her laughter. He'd embarked on this project with a detached professionalism, a friendly favor for someone he admired. Yet, somewhere along the way, the boundaries had blurred, smudged by shared vulnerabilities and the quiet understanding that had blossomed between them. He closed his eyes, Clara's vivid image persisting in his mind. He didn't want it to cease. The thought was a sudden, searing pang in his chest, a realization he'd subtly resisted. He yearned for more of the effortless cadence of their talks, more of the warmth that radiated from her, more of the quiet joy he felt simply by being in her orbit. This wasn't merely about assisting a friend anymore. This was more profound, and the looming prospect of their time together concluding felt like a deep personal loss. A fluttering heart. The screen glowed, illuminating Clara's face as she leaned in. Her eyes, usually holding a hint of weariness, now sparkled with an almost childlike wonder. It's perfect, Leo," she breathed, a soft smile spreading across her lips. The words he'd chosen, the subtle gradients of her chosen photo, the way her story was woven, it all resonated with a truth he'd painstakingly sought to capture. She looked radiant, a lightness about her that hadn't been there before. "You think so?" Leo asked, a tremor in his voice he hoped she didn't notice. He watched her trace the lines of the text with a gentle finger. "Absolutely. You've somehow taken everything I felt and made it beautiful. Thank you, Leo. Truly." She turned from the screen, her gaze meeting his, warm and genuine. Before he could respond, she took a step closer, enveloping him in a spontaneous hug. Her arms wrapped around him, soft and firm, and a jolt coursed through Leo. The scent of her, faint lavender and something uniquely Clara, filled his senses. His heart, usually a steady drum, began to hammer against his ribs, a frantic hummingbird trapped within his chest. He felt himself lean into the embrace, a silent, desperate plea for time to stand still. When she pulled back, her smile was brighter than any star. "You're a miracle worker," she said, her eyes still sparkling. Leo's throat tightened. This was it. The moment. The words were right there, hovering on the tip of his tongue. A desperate confession waiting to spill out. "Clara, But they dissolved, dissolving into a tangled knot of fear and longing. He cleared his throat, the sound rough and inadequate. I tried to reflect who you really are," he managed, the sentiment falling flat compared to the hurricane raging inside him. He wanted to tell her how much he enjoyed their late-night chats, how her quiet resilience had captivated him, how the thought of her finding someone else online was a sharp, unwelcome ache. But the words, the brave, honest words, remained stubbornly stuck. A pang of jealousy. The chime of his phone on the workbench startled Leo, a splash of crimson paint nearly marring the corner of his current peace. It was Clara. "Hey, you," she began, her voice bubbling with an unfamiliar lightness. "You're not going to believe it. Remember that guy, Marcus, we looked at? He actually messaged me back. We've been chatting all afternoon, and he wants to meet up this weekend." Leo gripped the phone tighter, his knuckles whitening against the cool metal. A strange, sour twist coiled in his gut, sharp and unexpected. He pictured Clara, her smile genuine and bright, leaning into her phone, excited by the prospect of a Saturday night date with someone else. His breath hitched, a sudden, unpleasant warmth flushing his cheeks. That's great, Clara," he managed, the words feeling like gritty pebbles on his tongue. He tried to inject enthusiasm, but his voice sounded flat and distant even to his own ears. The vibrant greens and blues of his current painting suddenly seemed dull. "Right?" she chirped, oblivious to his internal turmoil. "He seems really nice, and he's an architect, just like I said I liked. You're such a good matchmaker, Leo." The compliment, intended to be kind, only deepened the knot in his stomach. Matchmaker. He was helping her find someone else. The thought hit him with the force of a physical blow. He didn't want Marcus taking Clara out for coffee, or dinner, or anything else. He wanted to be the one asking about her day, listening to her quiet laughter, seeing the way her eyes crinkled at the corners when she smiled. The realization blossomed in his chest, painful yet undeniable. He wanted to be the one taking her out. His gentle, patient approach had been a shield, a comfortable distance he'd kept to avoid confronting the very real, very potent feelings that had been simmering beneath the surface all along. Now, the potential loss of her to someone else had ripped that shield away. "So, what do you think I should wear?" she continued, her voice pulling him back from the brink of his own chaotic thoughts. Leo stared at the unfinished canvas, the reds now seeming too aggressive, the blues too cold. He had to do something. He couldn't let Marcus be the one. Walks and new beginnings. The phone felt heavier than usual in Leo's hand, a solid block of apprehension. He'd rehearsed the words a dozen times, each version sounding stilted and inadequate. He stared at Clara's contact, her name a beacon of warmth against the cool screen. Taking a shaky breath, he pressed call. "Hey, Leo." Her voice, bright and clear, instantly calmed a tremor in his chest.
Clara.
"I was wondering, the weather's supposed to be nice tomorrow. Would you be interested in a walk? At the park?" His heart hammered, a frantic drum against his ribs. A beat of silence stretched. Then, "I'd love that, Leo. What time?" A wave of relief washed over him, so potent it made his knees weak. They settled on noon. The next day, as they strolled beneath the dappled sunlight filtering through ancient oaks, a comfortable silence settled between them, punctuated only by the distant laughter of children. Leo watched her, her profile serene, a gentle smile playing on her lips. This was it. The moment. He stopped, turning to face her. "Clara," he began, his voice a little rougher than he intended. She looked at him, her eyes wide and inquiring. I know this might be unexpected, but spending time with you these past weeks, it's been more than just helping with a profile. I've come to care for you, Clara, more than a friend. I really like you." He held his breath, every nerve taut. Clara's serene expression softened further, a blush rising on her cheeks. A shy smile bloomed. "Oh, Leo," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "Unexpected, yes, but not unwelcome. I felt it too. This connection, this ease with you. I've been so afraid to hope, to feel this way again. But you're so kind, so genuinely you. It's been right in front of me, hasn't it?" A single tear traced a path down her cheek, quickly followed by a radiant smile. "I like you too, Leo. More than I thought possible." His own smile mirrored hers, a lightness spreading through him that felt like sunshine after a long winter. He reached for her hand, his fingers gently intertwining with hers. Their walks became a cherished ritual, each step a further deepening of their bond. They shared stories, not just of past struggles, but of dreams, of quiet joys, of the small, everyday wonders they observed. The dating apps, once a necessity, now faded into irrelevance. This was a new beginning, blooming not online, but right here, in the quiet presence of each other.